We received the funding this year. It was our first year to receive the Building Stronger Brains Innovation Award. And so I'd like to share a little bit about it with you. Before we get started, I just wanted everybody to kind of take a big breath and think about some time that you were outside. Think about how you felt. So I'd like you to raise your hand if you feel better when you go outside. Awesome. Science shows we feel better when we go outside. And so we wanted to show how that can impact a child with increased time with a ranger at a park, and doing that over and over and building that relationship. So a little bit about state parks. We have 56 across the state. We're very proud that we are one of 7 state park systems in the country where we're free to just come in, find your favorite tree, inspect it first, make sure there's nothing on it, and then hug it, and you can leave, and we're not going to charge you. And so we are what I think we just have this opportunity to be a charging station, and we have an opportunity to be an anchor of the community. And for many of our rural areas, that is just such a big opportunity. So these are the actual quotes from our vision, and they really apply to our work with children and our work in prevention and mitigation of adverse childhood experiences. So we believe that there is an inherent value in the natural environment. We believe that observation and experience of natural things in a setting removed from the hectic world of the day-to-day can uplift and recreate the human spirit. We believe our natural and cultural resources provide context and continuity in our lives and help to make us whole. The intrinsic worth of these resources is beyond any monetary consideration. So like we said, we feel better when we go outside, and science backs that up. Lots of research over and over and over is showing that there's a reduction in stress, depression, anxiety. You have a sense of belonging in a park. Even when you're by yourself, there's somehow a sense of belonging. There's improved self-esteem, improved self-confidence. You're happier. And there's something very meaningful that happens in the outdoors, and there's a sense of personal achievement. And so what I wanted to do is see how can we really ramp it up in one piloted location where we can see children go from this in their shell, afraid to try, and see what we can do by presenting some outdoor challenges. Children, even in rural areas, are very comfortable in the classroom. They're very comfortable in their home. They're very comfortable doing this. But when you're like, hey, let's go explore that dry creek bed with rocks and leaves and things that you don't know about, are you still comfortable? And what do you do when you're met with that situation? So this is actually one of our little girls exploring in those rocks. We know that we're going to get increased attention span, self-regulation, improved mental health, improved physical health. And then this specific number of 28% in children, regular experiences in nature can reduce stress by 28%. And students who we think are in rural areas, they're right there. There are the trees, there are the mountains. They're not going outside. Just because they're there doesn't mean that they have that connection. So we wanted to provide that. So in this, we do have our goal of increasing that awareness in our rangers, increasing the awareness with teachers, maybe taking them outside to do an activity instead of always in the classroom, and seeing what we can do about empowering students. So we're going to walk the talk at Frozen Head. So Frozen Head State Park is in Morgan County. It's one of our economically distressed counties north of Oak Ridge. We chose this park because they have a brand new park manager. They have young, excited rangers who are ready for anything. And their school district was super easy to work with. So our plan kind of focuses on 4 main audiences. We wanted to think of a very holistic approach, very thinking of the entire community and kind of getting specific down to students in the community. So we do have monthly events. The entire community is invited for free. We just finished some ranger workshops where we're really focusing in on social emotional learning, which are new words for most of our rangers. We're providing teacher experiential days at the park, so you get professional development credit for coming to the park and like getting in the creek, going on a hike. We're going to talk about microinvertebrates and the water quality of that creek, but it's not a typical professional development, so we get a lot of good reviews for those. And then our main audience are the students. So we've got rangers doing classroom visits. We're bringing out students for free to the park for field trips. And then our shining star is our after-school program. So just a couple of examples. This was our school kickoff event we had in August. We invited many people from the community. Got lots of press. We had many of our community partners there as well. Lots of park rangers from all over the state, just kind of showing that we're here, that this park has a new team working there. This is a place you can come and you can know somebody by name and you can feel safe and it's free. So what I saw specifically was that students from Sunbright are in a part of the county that gets overlooked. It's far away from everything. Many people don't have the transportation funds to go to a lot of places around the county or even leave the county. A couple of these students had practice over the summer, and one in particular, the mom and the siblings of the student came and talked to the teacher and said, "Hey, I'm just going to hang out in the car. I don't want you to think I'm being weird or I don't trust you. I'm just hanging out in the car. We don't have the gas money to drop off this child and come back in the afternoon." She was planning to wait there for 6 hours so her daughter could have some music practice. So we really wanted to reach out to this group. So we brought the pep band out to the park, very small. They're so brave, like with one instrument. They're the only one on the trumpet, or they're the only one on the clarinet, and that is just so intimidating to me. So I was so proud of them. Their parents had lived in the county their whole lives, and hadn't been to the park in decades. So being able to reconnect with the community is one of our shining moments. So we sent families to the creek. We brought in, I think there was a professor here. Go out to the creek, play and explore in a new way that really encourages communication between children and their families and their adults. Then we've got our Civilian Conservation Corps hike. And what I love about this picture is that it's a multi-generational experience for these community events. So I just got done with ranger workshops. I did make this comment on Monday night, but I'll make it again. Thank you for being an audience that's not in a uniform with a badge and a weapon, and it's sometimes a little less intimidating. As far as I know, they haven't had workshops like this before, where you get up and you play games and you don't just sit and listen. We're doing mind mapping about student programming. We're learning to kind of be silly. We're learning these words like social emotional learning. Like their eyes just get big and they're like, we don't know how to do that. We know how to handcuff people. We know how to save them off a mountain. What is this social emotional learning? So for me, that's so exciting because there's so much room for us to grow. And it's fun when you get to see rangers in uniform being silly. So we're also focusing on teacher workshops. So our photo with the bird is actually from the project in the fall when we invited teachers to come out and hear about our project. We had it as a family event. So we had staff there to do programming with our owl, with getting in the creek, going on a hike. So the families had something to do at the park, and then the teachers were able to come and get some professional development time about adverse childhood experiences. The other two photos are goals that we want to do at Frozen Head. They're from some of our other parks, representing some of our teacher workshops. And then our after-school program. So we have 3 schools that we have partnered with through the Save the Children Action Network. We bring 2 of those schools to the park once a month, And that Sunbright School that's kind of far away, we send a ranger there, and they get to play on the playground, and the teachers get to see how to use that schoolyard space. Mindfulness in the outdoors. This is very new for this area. This is very new for parks. They love it. It's so fun. Close your eyes. What do you hear? I mean, the creek is just like, in this picture, it would be like right over there. So you can hear the water, all the birds. It's pretty far removed from any main roads. Just understanding that they can be by themselves and they can work on that self-regulation. So then we've got a couple of young scientists exploring. It's so nice to see children's faces when they feel smart, when a ranger, somebody who's like really important, hears your words and hears you questioning, I wonder what's under this rock. And then when you lift it up, oh, that's interesting. What did I see there? What do I notice? What could that remind me of? Now I'm going to wonder more scientific questions, and having a ranger say, wow, you sound like a scientist. It's just so fun. We've got one little girl with her newt that she found, and a little boy who is learning that there are special, I think they're called cherry beetles, that smell like cherries when they get really nervous and you shake them up. So this is an example of some of the materials that we're using. And this is an I'm as strong like a tree. What we did is students worked together, and in drawing a tree, finding natural objects to glue on the tree, they wrote things at the bottom in the roots area of the tree that made them feel strong, that made them feel safe, that made them feel brave, things that those were their resources. We didn't say it that way, but those things that make you feel good. And then at the top near the leaves, they wrote things or drew pictures of things that made them nervous, things they were challenged by. And we talked about, even though branches are moving and you can feel those challenges in your life, you're still connected. You're still grounded to something. And it's just fun to do it outside. And so recently we had this camp-in. Now, we opened this camp-in up to the public, and more than 80% of the students who signed up and came to this event were from our grant program, because they had already established that relationship with the ranger and with the place. So this is playing football with the ranger. I was so impressed with how long she played football. Like, when you get a little older, it's not as easy to play football for an hour with a bunch of kids who don't stop. And then we were playing games, and I use this picture because as the adults, we ran out of games. And it was so nice to be able to step back and say, you know what? Why don't you guys come up with a game? Talk to each other. Work it out. You don't need us. Figure it out. And because they had built this relationship with each other and with the place, they created so many games and just kind of took over that time. This is, that traditional, put your hands in, and now we're a knot. We're going to untie. And then this, I think I will keep this picture forever, was our impromptu dance party, where the state park ranger, in her law enforcement academy sweatshirt or t-shirt and house slippers, taught them the electric slide, and I think they requested YMCA, which, by the way, there's only like one part of that has a dance. Like, that's what we learned, and it's a really long song. But it helped them connect to her and see her as a real person, as someone that they could trust. We did not prompt this, taking this memory home. They were kind of put into teams, and so they had this little piece of cloth for any type of reason. Most of them used it as a headband. He wanted to take this memory home with him. These people, he isn't part of our grant program. And he didn't know a lot of the people there. So he went around and he got all of them to sign it like a little yearbook. After like 4 hours of being there. And then we've got our those finally settling in. I'm pretty sure they slept some that night. What I'm seeing is students who have found a place that they feel connected to. I'm seeing students who are connected to a person. And I was just told by the ranger that the behavior has radically changed for some of these students. And the leadership for a lot of these students is really changing. Those who were really in their shell are coming out of their shell and making jokes in front of the group. So you have to be really confident to make a joke as like fourth grade in front of the group. So we do have some fun stuff coming up. We're planning our spring break camp. We've got a high school teacher workshop coming up. At the end of the year, because the students requested it, we're going to have another camp in. And this time we're going to invite their families. So it's going to be kind of our end of the year bookend event with families and have students camping in. We've got a summer camp we're planning, some pretty adventurous stuff where students hopefully will be able to have tree climbing equipment where they can observe the forest at this level and then observe again here and observe again and observe again. So we're excited about that. And then I'm playing around with ideas about a summer reading program with Rangers. Read with a ranger in the park. We do have a storybook trail there. But come to the park and read. It's so much more fun to read by the little creek. I do want to give a shout out to Ranger Kaylee Kempton. Oftentimes people get praised at very high levels for things, and I really want to recognize that this is only possible because she's rocking it. She's the one out there making connections. She's the one getting stopped even when she's not in uniform. She's the one getting stopped in the grocery store because they know her by name. She's like, I'm a celebrity now. So my information is here. We would love for you to come out to Frozen Head or to any of our 56 state parks and feel that moment, to have your own mindfulness moment, your own adventure moment. And if there's anything that I can do to support your work, please let me know. I encourage you to go outside today, especially if there's something green, go stand by it, and maybe hug it and say hello. So I think I might have a couple minutes if you have questions. So, all right, thank you so much, and I'll be here for a couple more minutes in case anybody has a question.